I have cut ties with a Trump supporter in my life, which is sad. This is the second person I have said I don't want to communicate with you anymore. And I don't do it lightly. I like to pretend like I don't know who they voted for and just not talk about politics. That's usually the goal. But this particular person, he was my mother's divorce attorney. That's how they met and then started dating. And my mother was dating him when she died. And so he was kind of like a father figure to me, a stepfather. And his son actually serves on the Texas Supreme Court. And so we stay in touch, but I sent him Ken Paxton's letter yesterday because I was terrified. And he's an attorney, and his son is on the Texas Supreme Court. And I felt it necessary to take my privilege and say, by the way, I have a left-leaning political account, and this is scary. And his response back to me was disheartening. It was kind of like, well, make sure you're not involved with any groups that promote violence. And I was like, oh, well, let me rearrange my schedule then, because every leftist group that I'm a part of is violent. The PTA moms and I, at the public education advocacy group, we are very violent. So that was offensive. And then he told me about how when he was young, he was really idealistic and liberal, didn't like the Vietnam War. But he said that as he got older, he's about as conservative as he could be, which to me means I love Donald Trump and everything that's happening in Texas, including this letter that Ken Paxton put out attacking you. And that was annoying to me, rightly so. And so I pushed back, and I kept leaving it. Rhetorical statements with no response necessary, that he would, poke me back, it felt like. And the straw that broke the camel's back was this. He uses his pet name for me that he's called me since I was a little girl. I love your passion, but please do not let that passion overwhelm the desire of us all to live lives which are full of joy with family and friends. I have no chill. I never have had chill. And I've always been ashamed of it, honestly, because that's what we're taught as women, right? Calm down. You're a lot. Chill out. Or don't let that passion overwhelm anything. And my immediate response was kind of to be like, well, maybe he's right. Let me think for a minute. And my response back was, no. I wish I could. It's unfortunate that I'm this passionate about something that's so awful. But my children's schools are going to continue to be underfunded. The president sent a letter to my alma mater and this person, the University of Texas at Austin. And I was like, they think they have the right to say what UT does. They're putting out propaganda from right-wing think tanks as civics education that will be taught to my children, state propaganda. Costs are going to continue to rise. There's nothing in place to fix that. Our civil liberties are being taken away. I'm getting afraid to speak up publicly, which means our democracy is failing. He's the man who bought me my Diary of Anne Frank in French, actually. And I said, I always wondered how I would have reacted in Nazi Germany. And now I know. And it's true. I would love to be wrong. If everything turns out fine and we have elections again in 26 and 28, I would love to come on here and be like, false alarm, guys. Unfortunately, all of the people who know better, the historians who have focused on fascism and authoritarianism, that is who I'm listening to. Not only my gut, because I'm just a unhinged woman, right? Why just listen to myself? I take what I think and know, and then I read experts, and they all agree that Donald Trump is an authoritarian. And so I wrote back to him and said, I have no desire to communicate with you in my life. He told me that he voted for the policies. Oh, actually, he said the majority of Americans, one of those times where I was like letting it ride and like not fighting, he said, well, I'll just say that the majority of Americans voted because they liked his policies. And I said, you really shouldn't repeat propaganda and lies. He won a plurality, not a majority. Majority is more than 50%, which he did not get. 90 million people didn't vote. They got the biggest plurality, actually. Policies. What is that? Tariffs that we pay for. Our reality is so gone that we're arguing over who pays for tariffs, even though, I mean, it's a fact that the importer pays for tariffs. It's ridiculous. That's how convoluted this world is that he has created. So I guess you want to pay tariffs. Weird. Open borders, I know. I'm so sick of people whining about the open borders. I live in Texas. It never affected my life. Did it affect the people at the border? I'm sure. But to have everyone in Texas bitching and moaning about it, or even in other states, it's like, really? Really? It really affected you? Give me a fucking break. And so deportations, tariffs, and tax cuts for the top 1%. Those policies were worth electing a felon? Like, how passionate do you have to be about Donald Trump to ignore the fact that he's a felon? Talk about me having too much passion. How much passion does it take a Trump voter to overcome all of the very blatant signs that he is a horrible human being? Even with Epstein coming out. Even if we do see these pictures of him with 15-year-old topless girls on his lap, y'all will still defend him because you're... But I have too much passion that's in danger. And so, do I believe he's a threat or not? If I truly believe the things I say on this platform, am I okay with someone telling me I'm wrong and then sputtering lies to me? Do I have any reason to continue communicating with them? No. Unfortunately for everybody in my life, because I have learned to live without my mother, I'm very okay with excising poison from my life. If I have to live without her, I'm pretty easy to live without people that stress me out, don't meet a need. That's my line, is don't repeat state propaganda back to me that fucking lies. Don't pretend that you voted for policies when we all know you voted for hate. And don't tell me to chill out when I say that I'm heartbroken, which is what I said, that I'm heartbroken. I said masks are off, and now we see how everyone really felt about equality, about immigrants, about everything, right? And I will continue to say no. I guess I lost my contact with the Texas Supreme Court, though, so I'm more screwed if something happens to me. That's okay. I got one more really big contact in my back pocket if something happens.